Was that a Halo victory last night against the Yankees in New York? I'm excited about it. I know you are. This team last night felt very different than the teams we've been watching previous, and John and I figured out why, and we're going to tell you. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're available on all platforms like Apple Podcast and Spotify. And of course, the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. You can make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started.
Thank you for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
We have been fans of this team for years, and we've been through them with all the highs and lows and halos, if you will. And it's our second season here at Locked On Angels, and so we're so glad that you decided to join us, whether you're an everydayer or it's your first time watching us, tuning in, listening, wherever you're listening or watching. We really appreciate you being here. Hey, coming up on Friday, we're going to recap, obviously, the Thursday game from this Yankees series before the Halos head back to home in Anaheim to face the Kansas City Royals. And we're going to do a little bit of Fan Mail Friday as well. So we got a little bit of a mix there on Friday in terms of what we're covering. And reminder that the Angels play the Yankees today at 4:05 Pacific. It's Griffin Canning's second start of the season, so we're looking forward to that. Catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels.
Johnny, can we talk about this victory? I was so stoked to watch the Angels win against the Yankees, and it was a good win. It was a different win.
It was the team that they should be, Mike.
Yes, and I was listening to good old Victor Rojas this week, and he said that he had texted Gooby and talked about what he thought about this team. And Gooby said we should be like 10-3, 11-3. And then Victor said, "But you're not."
But you're not.
And the knots, I think, came undone last night just a bit. Do you like that?
Come on.
Let's talk about Jose Suarez. I know that it was a tough outing for him, but I got to say, I liked the fact that he was battling. He was not the same Jose Suarez we've seen the last two outings.
Okay.
This was a different guy, and here's why. One is that he was looking at the batter, and we've talked about that on this show. When he doesn't look at the batter, he misses terribly. And when he does look at the batter, he's more consistent. And he was a bit more consistent. He battled last night. Now, you said off the air, and I thought it was brilliant, so I'm going to steal it from you. But you said in those first two games, he's throwing everything over the plate.
Right.
Last night, he was really, I think, picky, right? He was trying to hit the corners and things like that, which led to the 6 walks.
Yeah, I was going to say, he got 6 walks because of that.
He worked around a lot of those walks, John, and what I saw in him last night was that he was battling. But I think the best part is when he actually came out of the game, and he only went like 3, I think it was 3 1/3. He came out of the game, and Phil Nevin got in his face, and it was a good moment. Talk about that.
Well, he got in his face before the third inning, or I should say the second inning, because when he came back out in the second inning, he started throwing more off-speed stuff, and it wasn't the fastball. He did throw the fastball, but it wasn't to locate for a strike. It was, a waste pitch to play the off-speed stuff a bit better, but he was throwing his sweeper, his slider, and his curveball, and that's when you had those 2 pop-ups. He got like Aaron Judge to pop up, and that's what you want to see from the off-speed stuff. Not good contact, stuff that induces pop-ups. And I think Phil Nevin had a conversation with him about that and said, hey, you know what your repertoire is. You know what your best stuff is. We don't know what he said yet, but I do think it had something to do with his pitch arsenal and what he's good at doing. And maybe even something along the lines of, don't be anybody that isn't you. Don't be someone that's not you. You got to be yourself out there. And the best way Jose Suarez was getting outs in this game, Mike, was getting guys to swing and hit off-speed stuff, getting them to fly out, getting them to swing and miss. And it was all off speed. And so I think that was the key there. I'm disappointed in his outing because it's yet another short outing that doesn't look good on the back of his baseball card. I just kind of wonder, where's the second half guy? Where is that guy? And why does it take until the second half for him to show up?
Yeah.
Maybe he needs time in AAA, which would be tricky because he's out of options and could get scooped up. But at this point, I think you roll with a 5-man rotation that includes Griffin Canning, and Suarez becomes the 6th man, and you piggyback him off of, or you piggyback Jaime Barria off of Suarez, kind of like what they did. I know that Jaime Barria only went 1 inning, but then you saw some great outings from the bullpen, which is, bite my tongue. It was a great outing from the bullpen, right?
Yeah. You bring up Jaime Barria. I want to talk about him. Johnny, I loved him in the 8th inning. I loved him coming in and being the bridge.
He got to pitch with a lead, Mike.
I think that this is a possible solution to the Aaron Loup Ryan Tepera dilemma. I think that maybe Jaime Barria can be the guy that can do what he did last night.
The bridge.
Coming in and being that 8th inning, 7th inning guy, throwing some gas, throwing some heat. He knows he's not going to have to go a bunch of innings, but he can. And that's what I like about him there. He doesn't have to, but he can because he is kind of stretched out. He can go 2 innings if necessary, like Matt Moore can go 2 innings if necessary. And I think that actually helps this bullpen and gives them consistent roles. Johnny, I really liked how he pitched. I really liked the pitches he selected. He was throwing strikes and he looked like a different guy out there. And what I think this also does is it frees up Tucker Davidson for every Suarez start to be maybe the guy that comes in after 3 innings, because what you saw last night was that Suarez, although not fantastic, he did battle through those 3 innings, and the Yankees then kind of started to figure him out. He did hurt himself with the walks.
Yeah.
But then I think that you have Tucker already planned on coming in, and you tell Suarez, hey, give me 3 innings. Give me 3, and I'm going to cover the next 3. And I think moving Jaime to like 7, 8, I actually love that, which is something that is exciting because what it showed me, John, is that Phil Nevin, at least starting last night, seemed like he was managing this team a whole lot differently.
Yeah, you saw that in how the bullpen was managed. You saw Andrew Wantz come in and get an inning and 2/3. He had to clean up the mess on the bases because they were loaded. And while I would have liked for him to challenge Anthony Volpe and avoid Aaron Judge, it did work out in their favor. They were only able to get 2 of those runs to come across. But I think that you have to challenge the rookie who just swung and missed at a pitch, and you have him in the palm of your hand. Maybe Wantz isn't quite there to recognize that yet as a pitcher, or he's a young pitcher, right? He's not a veteran, and so maybe he didn't quite pick that up in the moment. Then you go to Jimmy Herget for 2 innings, and then you get Jaime Barria instead, and then Jose Quijada closes it out.
I love that.
So the big thing here, Mike, other than Andrew Wantz coming in to mop up for Jose Suarez, clean innings.
Yes.
Clean innings and letting these guys go. Mike, it felt like a different team, partly because Zach Neto and his defense in the bases loaded situation, 2-out
awesome.
jam, throws to Anthony Rendon because it's the easiest play to make.
Yep.
He's right there. He's not anybody's going to make that play to even get to that ball. So it was awesome to see Zach Neto really make a smart play, a tough play, and the right play. We've talked about what this team looks like on the field, which felt entirely different than what we've been watching for the first couple of games, right? And now the Angels get out to a big lead off a Shohei Ohtani 2-run home run. Anthony Rendon, man, with runners in scoring position. Gee, I feel like we talked about that several times.
Told ya.
He told you, right? And then Hunter Renfroe with an RBI double.
Yeah.
And the base running was aggressive. Bill Hasselman sent Anthony Rendon.
I love that.
And Rendon was like
first base and he scores. That was awesome.
He was like, I think Hasselman forgot how old I was because he was tired at that point. So all of that to say, Mike, it just, the last 2 games against the Red Sox and the Yankees on Tuesday night look like a different team. This is the team that they're supposed to be. This is the team that doesn't say, well, we should be this. Right, but you aren't. You're not. And now they are 9-8. They're above 500. I think it's time that they continue to play this kind of ball. We're looking forward to seeing what they can do in the next 2 games against the Yankees. Maybe take a series sweep. We'll see what happens. They've got some stronger starting pitching on the mound in the next 2 games, so we're looking forward to that. Hey, coming up on Locked On Angels, was Zach Neto a panic move or a brilliant move? We're going to discuss that coming right up.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. For every championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. And it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time that you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With the eBay Guarantee Fit, you can be sure that every part that you need fits right and fits right the first time. Just add your ride to the My Garage and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, you want to be confident in your players, and confidence is the name of the game when it comes to shopping on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be glad that you went there. You'll be back in the game in no time. And after all, it's easy to bring home a win when you have the right parts, and they are guaranteed. So get the right parts, the right fit, at the right price on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen today. Locked On Angels everydayers, join us each day this week as we continue to recap the games against the New York Yankees. Hey, the Angels play the Yankees today at 4:05 Pacific. The bullpen, it's been used quite a bit, especially after last night's game. So the Halos are going to need a strong start from Griffin Canning, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels.
Johnny, let's talk about fans freaking out because I know that Angel fans have really struggled with the start of this year. And remember, we are longtime fans, John and I. And the one thing that I can affirm is that April has never been super terrific happy hour.
Victor Rojas even said that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so if Victor says it, it must be.
And shout out to angelswin.com podcast, by the way, because they did a great job. It's Victor's first episode, and so they're doing a great job over there. So if you miss Victor like we do, head on over there. I think you guys will really enjoy it. They do a once-a-week podcast that just started, so check that out.
And he's not hired by the Angels, so he can really say whatever he wants. So
son of a bang, son of a boom.
But April's always been a difficult month. We've had some anomalies over the last 20 years, but it's really been a difficult month. Johnny, it's not just been difficult for the Halos. It's been difficult for some other teams that have greater expectations than we had, and teams like the Dodgers and the Padres, and fans are freaking out, Johnny. Fans are freaking out.
Let me just get this out of the way right now.
Get it out of the way. Come on.
You and I, just for the record, everyone, we are upset with Artie that he didn't sell the team. We don't think Matt Thaiss should be the backup catcher because clearly he doesn't have it. We'd love to see Chad Wallach, who is in New York, by the way, in case something happens to Logan O'Hoppe. We'd love to see that switch. I understand Matt's out of options. We'd love to see Chad Wallach. We're just going to say that. The other thing is, we know that the bullpen has been awful.
Yep.
And we know that a pitching performance like Jose Suarez is not going to get the job done. But we've been fans of this team for years. Those things, to us, don't need to be repeated over and over and over and over and over again. We're going to talk about them when they come up, but you're not going to get a fiery, impassioned, I can't believe that Matt Thaiss.
Yeah.
So sorry that I can't put your 3-minute diatribe voicemails on our show. Nobody wants to listen to that. Okay. But to say that those things are going unaddressed, guys, check out the log of episodes we have. We've talked about Artie, we've talked about catching, we've talked about the bullpen, we talked about it in the offseason, Mike, before the season even started. I believe I said, Mike, the biggest concern to me is the bullpen. Do you agree? Yes, John, I agree. So we are not the only ones having freakouts around Anaheim because the Dodgers fans are freaking out. Padres fans are freaking out.
They are.
Let's start with let me reset. Here's what we did, Mike. And it was kind of fun, actually.
Yeah.
The Dodgers, who, as of this recording, are 8-9, under 500, worse record than us, right?
Yep.
9-8.
Yep.
The Dodgers are the Dodgers who've been to the playoffs for the last decade, every single year. And I went to one of the recent Athletic articles, and checked out the comments on this Dodgers Athletic article. Mike, why don't you share a few of these beautiful comments from fan freakouts?
All right, so here's comment number 1. Get used to this. 2023 Dodgers are no better than a 500 team. Here's another one. They did their free agent shopping at the Dollar Tree to get under the cap. Then they had the Bauer decision that blew up in their faces. So now their roster is thin, and they'll be lucky to draw 2 million fans.
Yeah, they'll get 2 million fans in a week. They're the Dodgers.
Right. This is a good one. Now we'll see how good of a manager Roberts really is with those analytics. The Dodgers they really overly rely on them. They haven't looked this bad since they had Andrew Jones in 2008.
That might be true. They weren't really great until this last decade, huh?
Yeah. My favorite one was when they are complaining about the players on the team and somebody said, Shohei Ohtani ain't freaking fixing this.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was great. And then here's another one. So tired of trying to cobble together pitching staffs out of string, duct tape, and rusty staples. That's so good. Management is a little too impressed with this genius trying to move things around and trying to be somebody who proves I'm trying to read this right, trying to prove how great they are with this silk purses from sow's ears. This fan was really upset.
Very eloquent.
It's funny because you could translate some of the language that they're using and talk about the Angels, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And what's interesting is that the Dodgers were a great team last year.
Yeah.
And this is the reaction. And maybe people are saying they're spoiled by the Dodgers. Maybe they are, right? But it's very similar to what we're saying about the Angels, and we haven't been spoiled by the Angels since 2014.
Gosh. The Dodger fans are facing adversity for the first time in 12 years? Oh, no.
First
what
time,
a shame. Yeah, no kidding. But, Mike, the thing is like the Dodgers are dealing with injuries, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
lose Gavin Lux. They don't have some of their starters, and like Walker Buehler's not back. And so they are trying to stay under that luxury tax. They didn't get out and get everybody that they possibly could. And now they're facing adversity, which every team faces. And so there are lofty expectations for every team, but it does feel good to kind of empathize and kind of roll in the mud a little bit of some of the other fan freakouts. How about this, Mike? The Padres, who are currently 8-10 as of this recording. There was an Athletic article on Juan Soto and where he will bat when Tatis returns. Now, Juan Soto's batting average, not great right now.
Right.
So here is a comment from the article. Juan Soto is the most overrated player in baseball. He often gets lost in the outfield, and his bat had already started to weaken before the Padres traded away their future for him. Sure, he draws a lot of walks, but for that, the Padres gave away most of their top prospects. It's a trade they will spend years trying to recover from. Soto will never live up to his billing as the next Ted Williams. Puzzling out whether he should hit second or third in the lineup is a useless exercise. Bat him last, where his inability to make contact will do the team the least damage. Somebody else had a comment as well talking about the lack of lineup protection might be the problem. And somebody said, hold on, I'm a Nationals fan. And Juan Soto never had the protection of Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts. Like they went on and on and on about who's batting behind Juan Soto, and yet he still succeeded with the Nationals. And so I understand as a fan being frustrated that one of the guys that you traded away the farm for is not performing. But to say, whether he's going to be third or second when Tatis comes back is a useless exercise. That sounds like a lot of fans that are fans of the Angels, right?
Right. Here's a article about the Guardians. They are 9-9 as of this recording. They had just lost both games of a doubleheader to the Tigers.
This is from Guardians Reddit, by the way. So I got some comments from Guardians Reddit.
Wow. So they took 2 or 3 from the Nationals, but then they lost last one. So they've lost 3 in a row. Here's my favorite one, John. This team is pathetic. Wouldn't expect to have a fun season watching these AAA losers. Can't even score against the Tigers. That's pretty funny. That sounds a lot like Angel fans there, right? And then this rotation is in shambles right now, and the only reliable starter right now is Bieber. And then if Cal can come back, we can catch him on a good day. I just love the emotion that is elicited from these comments. It's hilarious.
And what's funny is somebody was suggesting that they bring in Bibby, who is a guy in the minor leagues, and somebody responded and said, Bibby's got 2 starts in AAA. That's all so far. He's been very good. He's
Yeah.
also on an 80 pitch limit. So in the same way that we say, well, we got to call up this guy and
Right.
put him in the rotation or put him in the bullpen, the other fans are dealing with the same thing. Hey,
Well, and that's what I loved about what Lindsey Crosby had to say on yesterday's show. Lindsey Crosby
Yes.
put us in our place, and he says, you don't want Ben Joyce in this rotation yet, this bullpen rotation.
Right.
Homie can't even pitch back-to-back games.
So, Mike, this to me, the bottom line here is this is baseball. It's April. Other teams are facing injuries. They're facing hitters not delivering when it matters most. They're facing bad bullpens. And for the Angels, Mike, so far it's been poor defense, sloppy errors, inconsistent hitting, not hitting with runners in scoring position, except for Anthony Rendon, thank you. Inconsistent bullpen, and then bad managerial decisions. But you know what I think about all of this? Every single thing that we've listed, bad bullpen, bad management decisions, sloppy errors, poor defense, inconsistent hitting. Those are all fixable things.
Yes. Yeah.
And with time and with patience, those things can turn around. And so I really feel like, well, we do have Jared Walsh out. We don't have Max Stassi as a backup catcher. And so we're kind of playing down in that sense. Those guys will eventually return, but the things that need to be fixed about the Angels can and should be fixed. Now, over the last 2 games, I've been encouraged by what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that this can continue moving forward.
Today's show is brought to you by the Ultimate Pro Baseball GM game. This game allows you to manage every strategic aspect of a franchise. So if you're mad at Perry Manassian, then just play this game and let's see how you do. Because in the simulation, you're responsible for hiring the right coaches and staff, managing team finances, scouting and drafting players. Are you going to take 20 pitchers in the draft, or are you going to take 20 first basemen? You have that option. You can manage through difficult personalities and injuries, navigating your franchise through free agency and all of the ups and downs of the season. And it's in a very challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable offline. And Locked On Angel listeners, you get a 100% free boost to your franchise when you use the promo code Locked On in the game store. You can download the game by visiting probaseballgm.com. You can scan the code right here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, or you can go to the App Store and you can search for it. That's Pro Baseball GM. You can play this game and try to be a general manager and try to win and see how hard or how easy it actually is. The Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today.
Mike, as we continue our conversation about the Angels today in our last segment, we have seen Perry Manassian make some big, bold moves
we
over
have
the last few years. First, it started with letting Albert Pujols go because the production wasn't there. That was like the first month of the 2021 season that happened.
Yep.
They gave Jared Walsh the full-time job.
Loved it.
Last year, we started by letting go of Justin Upton because he was just... I should say they wanted to roll with Brandon Marsh and Joe Adele. That's not what ended up happening. There was a part of me that thought, hey, it'd be pretty nice to have Justin Upton here a few times over last season.
Yeah.
But then he went to the Mariners and didn't hit at all. And he's not even in
now he's done.
The league. Yeah. So kind of shows you where his career ended up after he was released. This season, Mike, we had Zach Neto being called up 317 days between his last collegiate hit and his first major league hit. So less than a year. He was drafted number 1 by the Angels in 2022, and now he's already here. It was an exciting move, but was it the right move or a panic move?
And the reason why we're bringing this up is because whenever an Angel has struggled so far, and we're 17 games into the season, but we've seen Angel fans yell, DFA that guy, get rid of that guy. I don't even think they know what DFA means, but DFA that guy, get rid of that guy. And the most recent one and the most consistent one has been Aaron Loup. Yes. And so everyone's saying, hey, should we DFA this guy? What should we do with this guy? And the question then is, if we do get rid of him, would that be a panic move or would that be a brilliant move? And what are the options? So before we get there, Johnny, you've got some good details as to why Loup is actually struggling. So share some of those numbers.
I sat back and tried to figure out what has changed with Aaron Loup over the last 2 years. He had a brilliant season with the Mets in 2021. He had a .95 ERA, something ridiculous, under 1, right? And I also had to consider, I said, when was the 3-batter minimum rule? But that applied to him. So he that he didn't get away with facing one pitcher or one hitter and then getting out of the inning. He had a brilliant season with the Mets under that rule. Mike, I think I narrowed it down to why Aaron Loup has struggled over the last 2 years, and it all comes down to the sinker. In 2021, get this, the sinker was worth negative 13s in run value. So that means it kept 13 runs from scoring, essentially.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
As hitters hit that sinker. In 2022, it was worth 1 run in run value. So
wow,
hitters hitting it were going to get at least 1 run out of it.
So that's
over
that's
the span of time.
14 run differential essentially.
Correct.
From one season to the next. Wow. Okay.
Now, here is something interesting. Yes, no kidding. In 2021, the sinker had a batting average against of 188 and an expected batting average of 214. Now, if there was a robot who could look at a pitcher and see the way they throw the ball, see the way they hold the ball, see the spin on the ball, see the extension on the pitcher, and a robot scanned all of that, they could quantify the expected batting average based on the movement, the spin, the delivery. And so they look at it and go, oh, the way that pitch is pitched should yield about a 214 batting average. So that's what expected batting average is. Now, in 2022, the batting average against the sinker was 279.
Wow.
And it had an expected batting average of 313. So people are getting 31% of the time, they're getting hits off of it. So here is what I narrowed it down to. Here's what changed. In 2021, it averaged 92.4 miles per hour. In 2022, it averaged 91.2 miles per hour. From 2021 to 22, there was slightly less vertical movement and there was slightly more vertical movement and less horizontal movement. And then, Mike, this one jumped out to me, the extension on the sinker. So when a pitcher throws the ball, it's called the extension. From where they end up after they throw it, you get about 6 feet or so, depending on how tall the pitcher is. So from where they're standing to where they end up throwing it, that's extension. So the extension on the sinker in 21, 6.1 feet. In 22, it was 6 feet. This year, 5.9 feet. So every year in this game of inches we call baseball, the extension has gotten less and less. Now, real quick, the spin on the ball was 2,212 in 2021, and the spin on it in 22 was 2,130. This year, 2,243. So the spin was about 2,200 in 21. Now it's way up. Here are the results of all of this. His whiff percentage on it in 21, 20.3%. In 2022, the whiff percentage was 9.5%.
Wow.
And in 23 so far, it's a 19%. Finally, Aaron Loup's best years are 50% or higher ground ball rate. So he's getting a ground ball 50% of the time. Locating that sinker in the zone and letting there be contact seems to be the solution for his sinker, but I just don't think he's locating it well at all. And that seems to be a big issue with Aaron Loup.
So those are really good details, really good numbers. The reason why we're sharing that with you is so that we can make a smart decision here, right? And so would it be, Johnny, a panic move to DFA Loup, or would it be a brilliant move to DFA Loup based off of what you just said? So what are your thoughts?
I think it's fixable, Mike. I think that the extension going down 2 inches from where you were to where you are now in 2023, that changes the whole trajectory of the sinker. 2 inches is 2 inches in front of the plate, really. And so if that ball is not ending up where it used to, and it's ending up in front of the plate, or if they can see the ball out of the hand sooner, just with those 2 inches, I think it's all fixable. So right now, if the Angels don't understand what's wrong with Aaron Loup, and I can identify this kind of stuff, they need to figure it out. I think that right now, he's an affordable option. He's got a $7.5 million contract and a $2 million buyout. He's a cheap bullpen hand compared to what other pitchers are getting out there. And when it comes to the options in AAA, well, there's a few. Why don't you list those out for us?
Yeah, there are a few, and I don't think that these are any better than Aaron Loup. And I've been as frustrated as anybody with Aaron Loup. I think that these guys still need to do some work. Davinsky, Warren, and Weiss.
And they're not lefties.
And they're still down there for a reason, right? Davinsky, he lost it. And he hasn't really found it in the minors yet. Austin Warren's still working out some things. They're using him as a closer. And Weiss struggled in spring training. And then if you go down to Rocket City, there is Eric Torres and Colton Ingram, who is a lefty. But remember, they're still young. And as Lindsey Crosby said, you don't know what you're getting with them. Mm-hmm. His suggestion would have been like a Chase Silseth or a Sam Bachman.
I like those.
But you've stretched them out as starters. You would have to then have them adjust to be a 1 or 2 inning guy, which is why, Johnny, I'm with you. I think this would be a panic move. I think it's fixable. And I was more confident in this being a panic move and fixable based off of what Jaime Barria did in the 8th inning last night. Yeah. And I think that we actually have some solutions right now so that Loup can try to figure this out. And maybe we have him figure this out in garbage time. And maybe we have him figure this out in like, we're warming up time, right? And don't put him in there in high leverage situations until you see that he can handle it, not just on the mental side, but that his body is reacting and doing what he did previously. And so as weird as it might sound, as ridiculous as it might sound, based off of what you just shared, I think it's fixable, and I think it would be a panic move to DFA Loup right now.
Give him a short leash. I think it would be more than fine. It would be more than fine to DFA him if they need to, and eventually. But Mike, I think it would be a waste for the analytics department, the coaching staff, the pitching staff, to not try and fix this.
Yeah.
I could identify a good year of Aaron Loup, 2021, versus what he's been doing. That's not so great.
Yeah.
They've got to narrow it down. They've got to figure out what's going wrong with him before they cut him loose.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen today. And remember, the Angels do play tonight against the New York Yankees, 4:05 Pacific time. Halos are looking to win the series, and if we win tonight's game, that would be awesome because we have won every series except for the series against the Red Sox, and so that would be great to see that happen. You can catch every pitch of the Angels, their hometown broadcast, with SiriusXM on the SXM app. You can just search Angels.
Thanks for giving us a listen and a watch today. If you're watching on YouTube, hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and connect with both of us at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
All right, so you mentioned Jared Walsh and you mentioned Max Stassi in this show. Johnny, what happens when they come back? Like, what moves need to be made, and what do they bring? And so you and I are going to talk about both of those things tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that conversation again. We got that game against the Yankees, 4:05. We'll be covering that as well on tomorrow's show. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hope you guys enjoy your day. Let's go out there and get a win tonight, Halos, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.